Today's webinar is part 8 in our webinar series about hardware. And today we're going to be looking at USB cellular modems and the role that they can play with IoT development and deployment scale. We should probably introduce ourselves and say hello to everybody.
Let's do that. My name is Dora, and I'm working as a device product manager within Soracom. I joined almost 2 years ago, and I've been working within the IoT field, mainly dealing with connectivity and product managing connectivity in the past 10 to 12 years. I'm based out of Stockholm, Sweden.
And I'm Duncan Fraser. So I'm a technical product manager here at Soracom. I've also been at Soracom for about 2 years. I have, I dare not count it up, 10, 15 years worth of experience working with different companies providing different types of IoT connectivity and device management or connectivity management services. I'm in the UK, and my main role is looking at some of the systems that we use to provide the underlying services that we used to provide our connectivity platform. We can touch on what those are as we go later on into the call. Just a quick note then to let everybody know that we are recording this, and we'll be sending out a link to everybody who's registered, either if you could join us now or if you have to come back and watch it later on. So yeah, do watch out for that link in case you want to watch back. In Demio, the platform we use for our webinar, there's a chat panel. I can see a couple of messages up there already. Do make sure that you ask questions in there. We'll pick questions up later on. And we have a section at the end of the webinar for questions and answers. So we'll run a Q&A at the end.
Feel free to post your questions during the session. Most probably we're going to get back to them during the Q&A. And let's look at our agenda.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have a slot to look at cellular modems. We use them a lot at Soracom. They're helpful to customers who may be doing a proof of concept in an early phase or starting to understand what they can do with cellular IoT connectivity and the Soracom platform specifically. It can be great as a way of jump starting first steps in cellular or first steps in migrating a particular topic that needs a problem solved where there's value to add with IoT. So in this session, we're going to split into two sections. So Dora, you want to you've got some topics on the topic of cellular modem first of all.
Yeah, we're gonna look at cellular modems or IoT dongles, as we very often refer to them, in general. And then slow by slow, we're gonna zoom into our own product that we call Soracom Onyx, which is a 4G dongle. And we're gonna look at the technical features and the specifications, and also some use cases that we see constantly popping up from our own customers. And what we would like to look at during the second part of the presentation is how we structure our actual offering, how we bring into the connectivity piece to the actual hardware. So we're going to be looking at North America and separately also Europe, because we have two different offerings for these two regions. And we're going to be showing you purchasing options, and towards the end of the session, we are going to have the Q&A that we were referring to earlier. Shall we start?
Yes, let's do that. Why don't you run through what you think of when you're talking about cellular modems?
Yeah. So we all know that we live in an increasingly connected world, and we are surrounded by IoT devices. And an IoT dongle is actually to basically allow us to connect to any device with a USB port. That's what it all goes down to. This device can be a laptop, it can be a Raspberry Pi, it can be a single board computer. And these dongles very often use these devices as their brain. And these IoT dongles should be much simpler, but still give much more to the users than, for instance, a mobile broadband dongle. And what we see is trending these days is some of the dongles come with regional SKUs, with regional units. That means that you need a special one to deploy for Europe, another one for the Americas, a third one for Asia Pacific, while there are some that come with global bands. And in that case, you don't really need to worry about your supply chain, and you can just deploy the global version, no matter where you require connectivity. These dongles have a SIM slot, and very often it depends whether it's an embedded SIM card that they are running on, or if it's a nano SIM, a 4FF form factor SIM card, or maybe a micro SIM. Some of them still have the larger mini form factor. And what also makes these dongles special is that other than having a built-in antenna for the module inside of them, very often they offer external antenna connectors in case you need to boost the signal that you require for the module itself. AT command support, that's also very, very relevant and important, because you need to be able to send certain commands down to your unit, shut off IPv6 or IPv4 in some cases. And it's also very important to mention that because the devices are very often using, the dongles very often uses the host devices, there is no external power supply required. And what we see as main applications for these dongles are twofold. One of them is to bring backhaul connectivity to an existing installation. And that installation can be Ethernet, it can be Wi-Fi, it can be LoRaWAN or Sigfox. So those use cases that are already connected primarily with something that is not cellular, and then you bring in a USB port to get that backhaul connectivity, to get that secondary connectivity behind the primary connection. And the second application example is when you want to retrofit an existing use case that might not have been connected at all previously, but it has a USB connector, a USB slot, so you can very easily bring a dongle and give it some cellular power. Or there are some 2G, 3G devices out there that will be no longer viable because of the ongoing sunset activities by the different MNOs. And by having an LTE or 4G powered USB dongle, you can very often give them a few extra years of lifetime simply by reusing that USB slot that those devices have. And that's why we put this beautiful vending machine on this picture, because this is a very, very old M2M use case where you can actually use a USB dongle or a USB stick to give itself that cellular connectivity that it needs, either as a backhaul connectivity or as a retrofit or upgrade to 4G from existing 2G, 3G connectivity.
And what about other use cases that we see cropping up?
Yes, we also brought 3 additional use cases that are kind of old, but we also put public transport that is not so old, like providing connectivity to payment terminals and ATMs. So as I mentioned earlier, the dongles usually very quickly connect to industrial applications, and there is usually very little integration effort required. And that's why, in order to give a peace of mind to, for instance, ATM operators, making sure that all the machines stay connected and safe and optimized, they very often need that cellular backhaul. And the same goes for payment terminals that you can also see on the first picture. Basically, you can equip IoT sensors with remotely monitored connectivity, and with a USB modem or a 4G modem, you can enable, for instance, proactive maintenance and minimize the downtime of these devices. The next one is connected elevators. Those are also relatively old M2M use cases. And very often these elevators have been connected with a fixed line. And that's how you were linking in to the emergency call centers, or you did some telemonitoring with them. But usually this entailed quite high costs to install, for instance, to install retrofits or upgrades. Um, and what we have seen is that even older elevator models, they are equipped with a USB connector. So you can turn unconnected elevators very quickly into smart elevators. And then they collect data, they monitor the traffic flows. You can use the SIM card for emergency calls. You can even run some advertisements within elevators. So it can be a pretty powerful way of connecting them via cellular. And the last example in this case is public transport, where we can think about a USB dongle that can deliver different experiences. And we can think about the drivers, uh, but also the passengers. So you can cover, for instance, electronic ticketing with cellular connectivity. It can cater for infotainment within the bus. You can again think about different advertisements, boards electronically running on the bus. And there is a very big thing about real-time passenger information display. Here in the Nordics, for instance, it's quite common that every single bus stop is equipped with some digital signage where you can see how long you need to wait for the bus. And that is because there is a cellular connectivity very often provided by a dongle on board that tells the bus stop when the bus is arriving. And we're going to be looking at a few additional use cases in a few slides. Yeah.
Very good. So when we think about dongles and we think about other methods of doing this, many of our viewers or attendees might be thinking, what is the difference here? We've had mobile broadband for a long time. We've got Wi-Fi hotspots. What are your thoughts on what makes an IoT dongle or modem an IoT modem?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. And maybe we can even bring in cellular routers and gateways as part of this evolution. So what we have seen 10 years ago maybe is that mobile broadbands were very often used for connecting IoT devices. And it was mainly because of their price points. And that was the high time for deploying, for instance, 3G modules in those mobile broadband dongles. And a few years later, the 4G angle also popped up. And that's how customers connected very often some of the IoT applications. We also saw the widespread of mobile hotspot when it came to providing connectivity to laptops, which is again bringing us back more to the consumer phase. But with having the smartphone mobile hotspots available, that pretty much ended the era of mobile broadbands. And for a while, there was a little gap when there were not yet IoT dongles available on the market, but that was also the reason why, for instance, us at Soracom, we started to look at creating not a mobile broadband, but an IoT specific dongle that can be used by businesses. And this is where I would like to bring in the routers into this dialogue, because there is a lot of pros and cons of both cellular connections, be it a dongle or be it a router. And we know that a router is usually 6, 8, maybe 10 times the size of an actual dongle. So you definitely need space to host those routers. While the dongle is much smaller in its size, but it's not such a complete solution as a router, for instance. And what you can
router is going to give you that kind of shared connection. It handles all of the backhaul.
That's right. Yes, you can have Ethernet running via them, Wi-Fi, sometimes even Bluetooth capabilities are added. So yes, and cellular is one of the options, one of the connectivity options. Yeah.
And I mean, when I think about mobile broadband, the kit that I used to use, it's tied to an MNO, a carrier. So when we think about IoT connectivity at Soracom, we're talking multi-country, multi-frequency, multi-carrier, multi-cellular frequency, because we have different frequencies being used by different towers in different parts of the world. So
That's right.
the broadband stuff that we used to find from some of the major carriers, it solved a problem. It got you online with your laptop or whatever you're trying to do in that region, but not great at moving around the world, not great at providing some of the features that we think of using regularly now, like network selection. We roam a lot at Soracom, so we need to be able to move between whichever network we need. That's not really possible on an old style mobile broadband.
No, and you couldn't find AT commands or application protocols that were relevant for those mobile broadbands that were very often logged to a certain operator, just as you said.
I mean, I think it's probably worth saying that we know that there's different solutions for different environments. To come back to your router point, if you've got a site that's got multiple devices, then a router might be the best option for you. If you've got the space for it, if you've got the power supply for it. But if you're running a single unit, a single IoT device that just needs its own discrete sensor, its own discrete connection, then that's where a dongle comes in. Excellent.
Good. Shall we look at additional use cases or applications?
Ah, yes, good.
We brought 4 more for you guys. The first one is EV monitoring and charging. And what we have seen based on some of our customers' examples is that these EV chargers are very often equipped with fixed lines or with Ethernet sockets. Plus, there is also a possibility to fit in either a router inside of these devices, or there is the famous USB socket, and then you can very often plug in and very easily plug in a USB dongle to them.
I think as a charger manufacturer, they get to choose, don't they, whether they want to build the cost in for cellular when it's not always going to get used.
That's right, yes. And we see the EV charging use case more and more relevant. It's absolutely something that keeps popping up around us. So it's one of the use cases that we are pushing very, very much. The next one is oil and gas. And this is one area where the machines that need connectivity very often have a longer deployment, a longer lifetime. But also, this is where you could use a dongle, for instance, for building a proof of concept other than retrofitting existing devices.
Sure. So trying to monitor what's going on a piece of works perfectly well, but frankly, legacy kit in kind of the IoT time space. But you still want to build a solution to monitor and start gathering data that you can use to extract value from. Yeah, very good.
Industrial automation and predictive maintenance, bringing us towards AI and Gen AI. Here, the customer's pain points is very often about the assets requiring reliable and high-speed connectivity. And those might not be met by Wi-Fi or by LoRaWAN or Sigfox. We know that many manufacturers are covered by LPWAN solutions today. And in those cases, a dongle can bring cellular backhaul connectivity, again, to those Sigfox or LoRaWAN solutions. And in that case, a cellular dongle would be providing a more reliable, a higher speed alternative, even to Wi-Fi, for instance.
and a self-managed network. So, I mean, to go back to your elevator example earlier on, if the IT systems in buildings now, the teams that run those are not particularly delighted when someone turns up and says, "I'd like to plug in my whatever it is that needs to be sensed, be it an elevator, be it a press or a conveyor belt sorting system." So to have the option to bring your own connectivity in the form of cellular with a dongle is a really powerful method that people can use to manage the connected infrastructure that their system is built on.
I agree, and we see this connected infrastructure requirements from all over with smart factories, and wanting to digitalize as much as possible within industrial environments. Shall we look at the last one, which is about smart agriculture? And this is where we have, for instance, tractors or automated irrigation systems or crop monitoring systems, where there is some kind of smart farming hardware, let's call them like this, that need, again, cellular connectivity. Be it
I really like some of the experience I've had with working with tractor manufacturers or some of the larger farming machinery, where they tend to be in and out from the central farm. So I'm not so much picturing static crop analysis. I tend to think of those being solved in different ways. But when you've got a tractor being driven around, especially if it's moving between farms or between fields, and you've got different levels of coverage, so having the option to be able to plug in cellular connectivity, if that suits that farm in that area of the world, then you can use it. But if you want to use that tractor with a different form of connectivity, you don't necessarily want the overhead of having to build cellular in the original equipment. So yeah, the USB plug-in modem is a real asset to be able to adapt to whatever it is whatever the environment you're deploying your equipment in.
Agree, very, very much.
Very good.
Shall we look at Onyx itself?
Yeah, let's do that. So let's apply that to our products, the Soracom Onyx, and let people know what it is that we've got and why we think it's a really great solution.
Let's deep dive, and there is a lot of text on this slide, but what we like telling about Onyx is that it's, of course, IoT optimized. It's an industrial grade USB modem, and it pretty much provides out-of-the-box connectivity. And at the bottom part, you can see 4 different graphics. The first one says global LTE module, but what is good to mention here is other than having a global module inside, I like how the picture is actually stripped down. And this totally reminds me of when you are actually starting your design. We were talking already about global versus local or regional SKUs. Our Onyx have a lot of different bands available. We're going to look at the tech specs in a moment, and then you're going to be able to see what are those brands. There is an internal antenna inside of the device, but there are also 2 different CRC9 antenna connectors available on the side of the unit. I don't know.
You have to really stare hard, don't you, to see those, especially in the black little plug on the black body.
Yes, it's.
That's it. Good.
I hope you can see it. Yeah. And we talked about the importance of having different protocols and AT commands available to steer the dongle, even to shut it down remotely, for instance. Those are all in there. I'm thinking about what to mention, but I think without further ado, I can just jump into the tech specs. And if there was a lot of text, there is even more. But this reminds you of a data sheet, I think. What we haven't talked about is the fact that there is 2G and 3G fallback available for our Soracom Onyx. and this is the list where the network bands are actually listed. You can see that there are quite a few 4G networks available. And we really see that the unit is capable of connecting from all across the world. We are using it in Americas. There are a lot of these devices deployed within Europe, and we also have quite a few in Asia. The download speed is limited at 150 megabit per sec, and the uplink is having a cap at 50 megabit per sec. It's standard LTE Cat 4. There are a few protocols mentioned here. You can see TCP, UDP, MQTT. So there are the most standards one there and supported. It's good to pinpoint the temperature range. Here we added two different temperature ranges. One is operational range between -20 and +60 Celsius degrees. Sorry, we only have it in Celsius, not in Fahrenheit. And the storage is a little bit wider, going from -35 to +85 degrees. And it's very important to bring in the certifications that we have on the device itself. We do have North America covered so far with FCC and PTCRB. There are two Japanese certifications on this list. Those are the middle ones, JATE and TELEC. And we also have CE and UKCA for Europe, and that includes UK as well. And KC stands for the South Korean certification. And we also have some safety and environmental certifications like Roche and WEEE. And in case someone is interested in deploying the unit outside of these areas, of these regions, we are happy to discuss, to share, for instance, certification costs.
Right, excellent.
Let's move on. And what we wanted to show on this next slide is actual examples of existing customers. And I mentioned that we do have several tens of thousands of these units already deployed worldwide. We started selling Soracom Onyx, I think, back in 2020, towards the end of 2020. And we see that there is quite some interest out on the market. And it's a very, very scalable and, as we said, easy to start up with device. And that's why it is so optimal to retrofit and also to future-proof existing IoT applications. So we brought a few examples. The first one is a single board computer that can be a Raspberry Pi, for instance. And we had, and we still have, quite some interest coming from IoT makers and developers who are really in the beginning of their IoT journey, and all they want to make sure is that connectivity can be embedded into their solution. And instead of purchasing an expensive industrial router, they just fire up their solution with our Soracom Onyx. Then we have a partnership with Sigfox and with different Sigfox operators, and they use very often our Soracom Onyx to retrofit, to provide backhaul connectivity to their micro base stations. They basically just plug in the USB modem, and it's gonna turn a Sigfox base station into a secondary cellular tower for them. What we also see is that there are quite some routers and gateways on the market that don't have a built-in SIM slot, but they do have the USB slot. So by plugging in the USB dongle, it's very, very easy to fire it up. It's also valid for existing 2G, 3G routers in case you need 4G connectivity and the unit has a a USB socket, you can very easily turn that device into an LTE cellular connected unit. And the last one is again a bit of cellular backhaul to industrial routers. I think we covered that previously.
Very good.
Yeah, I think there is one additional thought that I want to bring in. So Soracom Onyx is relatively a small size dongle, and it is really good to connect use cases without having space for fragile external antennas. So if you have one of those, it's definitely worth taking a look at this modem. Let's move on and let's check into our regional propositions.
Yes, we can talk to people about what they can order and where. Let's start with the US and the variants we have there.
Thank you. We actually brought two very recent additions to our old model that we started selling back in 2020. We added two different types of SIM cards to the existing hardware. As you see, the first one, the top left, is an embedded SIM card, and an embedded SIM can't be removed or tampered with. So it's very much strengthening the security around the dongle. What one will get with this version, if someone is about to purchase it, is also access to our Plan 01S SIM card, which we call Soracom's global SIM card, and also access to our IoT platform. And what's also good to know about the Plan 01S SIM card is that you can use so-called subscription containers on it, and basically you can play a little bit with what kind of network operator you are adding or taking away with the help of it. I don't know, Duncan, if you want to say a bit more about it.
Well, I think, the Plan 01S is as you say, it's our global plan. We use it a lot in lots of different parts of the world. It is pay as you go. So there's a standard daily fee and then a per megabyte fee. And as you say, with subscription containers, you can add in some of the plans that we have that are far more targeted to particular regions. So in the US, we have Plan US Max, which brings coverage from more carriers in the US. We also have plans that will add bundled pricing instead of pay-as-you-go pricing. So for a monthly fee, you're going to get an allowance of data, which if that suits our customer's business model and what they provide to their customers, then it's great. We've got both different types of pricing model on that, and Plan OS is a great starter for making that decision or starting that journey.
Thank you for adding that. And the additional SIM that is pre-installed is a nano SIM card. That's the top right corner of the offering. That's what we called IoT Nano SIM that is installed. It comes with the same Plan 01S pay-as-you-go model. You get access to our platform. You can do the standard troubleshooting. You can set up different event handlers or triggers on the SIM card. And one add-on is you can replace the SIM card manually in case you want to switch providers.
Yeah, it's really worth just going quickly refreshing the three options then. So you've got the original one, no SIM included. You buy it, then there's a secondary purchase to buy your SIM, or the version with the SIM included. So we've preloaded the SIM into the modem. We put it in the box, so you haven't got to. Our customers don't have to go and do that. And then with the eSIM version, again preloaded, but it's excellent. It's tamper-proof. You can't take the SIM out.
Not removable.
If customers are deploying it in somewhere where they're a bit more conscious of SIMs being tampered with, removed, fiddled around with, then eSIM is a great solution for that. Soldered down, can't be removed.
No, Cannot be removed.
Excellent. All right, so that's North America, and then in Europe we have another an option that's targeted to the way we have European customers come speak to us.
That's right. Here we have a beautiful orange SIM that we are going to be sending out to our customers. And here we tweaked the offering a little bit. And instead of offering a pay-as-you-go model, we created 3 different bundles. And these bundles include 12 months of data subscription. So you will be basically getting the amount of data that you can see, 100 megabyte, 500 megabyte, or 1 gigabyte per month per SIM card for 12 consecutive months. And the SIM card comes with not only access to the Soracom platform, but also to additional services that are part of our bigger platform. And those include data handling, remote device access, and you can do some other pretty cool stuff, all covered by the fee. And you can see the price on the right-hand side in the table. So these prices include 1 single hardware, 1 single Soracom Onyx dongle, the 12-month subscription, and also access to additional Soracom platform services. And the orange SIM card is going to come prepackaged with the dongle, but not in the dongle. And we are planning to launch this offering in less than 2 weeks' time, on the 4th of March, 2024.
An excellent one, I think. I think customers have been asking for a simpler solution to how they can buy Onyx dongles. So this is great.
And we have an overview slide because this can be a bit too much to take in. So we tried to get all the pros together, all the descriptions. The first 2 columns are for the North American offering. The third one with the orange SIM is for Europe. And the last one is bring your own SIM, just the hardware itself, no SIM card included.
Which we sell from all our regions, right?
Yes.
The original version. Very good. Very good indeed.
One additional sentence about our valued partners, Mouser and DigiKey. We are working with them on the North American Onyx versions, but they also carry the no SIM version too. So feel free to check those out.
Dora, we've got a question about whether there's an embedded SIM version for Europe.
No, there is none for Europe, but what someone can do to use the embedded version, you can simply go to Mouser and order it from there. And they're going to be shipping to Europe as well. And the pay-as-you-go plan is going to be covering Europe. So we do not carry the Plan X3 EU version, the orange SIM version. It's going to be based on Plan O1S, on the global plan.
Thank you. So what do people do then when they want to get hold of it? You kind of mention it there, order from Mouser, DigiKey, or from our store directly, and then get started?
Yes, we have a very comprehensive information or data gathered under our developer site. This is the second link here. Feel free to go there, look at all the info. We are a quiet maker-friendly company, and we definitely do better than just providing the hardware and say, yeah, use the PPP modem capability. So there is a lot of info there. There is also a very detailed blog post on MQTT as a protocol to be used with Onyx. There is Python example codes, so feel free to look around. And we also brought in a quick product video. Shall we show it quickly, Duncan? What do you think? Do we have time
Yes, we
for
can
it?
do that. I mean, before I do, I'm asking the question, but I know the answer already. For getting started, I used an Onyx dongle with a Raspberry Pi. I wanted to check out temperature and humidity at home. It's super easy, you know. The scripts on the getting started page to install Modem Manager for a Raspberry Pi, get it linked up. I then capture data through to Soracom Harvest, which is storing that, which is our database service, and then visualized it with Soracom Lagoon for a dashboard. So yeah, I was up and running really quickly. It works really well, and the setup guides. are easy to follow. Anyway, let me share my screen because I've got the video here, the short clip.
The Soracom Onyx is a high-performance modem that was designed to make it easy to give fixed and mobile applications cellular data connectivity. With built-in antenna, you can count on easy installation without extra wires or accessories. The Onyx can be installed on various devices. Paired with the Soracom 3-in-1 industrial-grade SIM, you'll be able to easily add global 4G LTE, 3G, and 2G cellular connectivity to your IoT and M2M applications. The Soracom Onyx LTE USB Cellular Modem and 3-in-1 industrial-grade SIM. A perfect match! Get both today using the link below.
And if you have any questions, please, if you're joining us live and you have more questions, please put them in the chat. Well, I think we're probably at a point we're wrapping up, Dora.
Yeah, pretty much. I think all we have is one slide about our introduction, who we are as...
Oh, yes, we should run through that.
Would you like to say a few words about
Sure, I
who
can
we
do
are?
a quick overview of Soracom for anybody who's joining us but doesn't know Soracom particularly. And I encourage you to ask any last questions before we wrap up. But Soracom is an IoT connectivity platform service. We're connecting 6 million plus IoT devices globally. Originally founded in Japan in 2015, our founders came from AWS and brought a lot of their AWS cloud compute insights with them to add or develop better solutions for connectivity than the traditional data center based core networks. So we provide not only connectivity solutions through SIMs and through devices like Onyx and our Soracom LTM button and other devices, but we also have quite a range of integration services, security or privacy controls that you can use to really take fine-grained control of how you're using cellular to solve your IoT problems. And I mean, sometimes seen as at odds, but the very last bullet point here for reducing power and IoT data transmission costs is quite unusual for a cellular company to want to help our customers reduce their data costs. That's traditionally where cellular companies make most of their money. But the sorts of things that we have services which we can work with you if you are developing a new product and you want to really optimize the amount of data to keep it as small as possible. We will then process that when it reaches our servers and turn it into a much richer format, maybe into a JSON format before forwarding onto your service. The power of that is that you've had to power up your modem for a smaller amount of time, therefore use less battery because you're bursting a small amount of data. The actual data you're consuming is less, so your operational costs from cellular are less. So we have some really strong tools to help customers build strong, private, secure, and very optimized solutions. Or if people just want to come and see us and say, we want your global coverage solutions, we're happy to speak to those sorts of companies as well. So a big thank you then. Thank you for joining us today to look at USB cellular modems and dongles and how we use them. Thank you, Dora, for sharing your thoughts and your experience with the modems.
Thank you, Duncan. And I hope we could bring a bit of additional insights to what you already knew about cellular modems. If there is anything outstanding, please feel free to reach out via email, via LinkedIn. We are more than happy to answer.
Yep, we have the contact us. We have the contact us on the Soracom website. So soracom.io if you want to come and visit the website, read more about the modem or any other services that we have.
And we thank you for your attention, and I think we wish you all a wonderful rest of your days.
Yep, the slides are in the handout section on the call, so grab that, or we'll be sending out a link later on this week or into next week. Thank you.
Hope to see you in the next webinar episode, guys.